1.5.4 Forms of business. Sole traders. Every business needs a legal structure that defines who owns it. A sole trader is a single person who is the exclusive owner of a business. They can still have employees, and the owner is entitled to keep all of the profits after tax, but is also personally liable for the business debts. Advantages. They are the easiest type of business to set up. The sole trader gets to be their own boss. The sole trader decides what to do with the profit. It is easy to change the legal structure if circumstances change. Disadvantages. Unlimited liability means that there is no legal distinction between the sole trader's assets and the business assets. It can be hard to raise finance. Banks often see sole traders as riskier. All the responsibility for making business decisions is yours. Having someone to share decision-making with can improve performance. It can be harder to retain good employees as they aren't necessarily given a share of the profits. Partnerships. Partnerships are businesses that are owned by two or more partners. Each partner has an equal share of the profits and equal say in the decision-making process. Examples of partnerships are doctors' surgeries, dentists, or accountancy firms. Advantages. More people means more experience and more ideas. Decisions can also be better, as the owners can discuss pros and cons with each other. It is easier to raise money, because banks are more likely to lend to a partnership than to a sole trader. More investments mean increased access to finance for the firm, and this supports quick growth. Good employees can be made into partners, and this means it is easier to retain the best employees. Disadvantages. The profits are shared, so if a sole trader decides to go into business with another person, they may end up with a low profit for themselves. Like sole traders, partnerships have unlimited liability. Partners may disagree about business decisions, and this can be unpleasant, especially if it is a family-based partnership. Each partner is liable for the actions of the other partners. This may lead to further friction between partners. Private limited company. Private limited companies, LTDs, are companies where ownership of shares is restricted. For the company to sell shares, all the current shareholders must agree to sell them. These companies have limited after their name. Advantages. The key advantage over sole traders and partnerships is that shareholders have limited liability. The fact that ownership is restricted means that all shareholders must agree to sell shares. This means that the owners retain a lot of control over how the business is managed. This can be avoided with special legal clauses, but some restrictions might stop a business owner from selling shares if other shareholders do not want them to. It is normally easier for a limited company to get a loan than it is for partnerships, as a company is normally seen as less risky. This should increase a company's access to finance. Disadvantages. Finance is needed to incorporate a business. There is an upfront fee, as well as costs associated with paperwork. This means that it may not be possible for smaller firms or brand new firms. Unlike sole traders and partnerships, the company is legally obliged to publish their accounts each year, and competitors may use these to become more competitive. Public limited company. Public limited companies sell shares on the stock exchange. This means that anybody over 18 can buy shares, often through brokers. Firms often become public companies when they want to expand because selling shares on the stock exchange allows them to raise finance for investment. In 2017, Snapchat went through this process, which is called a flotation. Advantages. Selling shares on a stock exchange allows companies to raise money for investment, which enables the company to grow faster or bigger. It is much easier for companies to raise capital from banks if they are public limited companies, because they present less of a risk, given the number and size of investors. Shareholders have limited liability, because the company is incorporated. Disadvantages. Owners often have very little say over how the business is run. This means that it can be hard to agree on how the business is run. Anyone can take over the company if they are able to buy enough shares. When shareholders own more than half the shares, then they will have control over the company. The company's accounts must be made public. This means that competitors can see how well the company is doing. Not-for-profit organizations. Any profit made by not-for-profit organizations is reinvested, put back, in the business. Any profit cannot be kept by the owners. Franchising. Franchising is where a business gives someone the right to sell its products and use its trademarks. The franchisee usually pays the business an upfront fee and a percentage of the profits. Advantages. The business can expand without needing large amounts of investment. The firm does not incur the costs involved with opening new stores. The business also does not have to be concerned about some of the risks of becoming a larger corporation, for example, diseconomies of scale, which may be caused by the growth from opening and operating new stores themselves. Franchising increases brand awareness of the firm's products or services. Disadvantages. A disadvantage of franchising is that the franchisee does not have complete control over how they operate. If a franchise is run badly, then a single franchise or store can negatively affect the brand image.